Hey everyone, welcome back to my kitchen. My name is Mindy Banks. I'm the Flip Flop Chef. Today I'm going to show you how to make a garlic and herb beef tenderloin using a 4-pound beef tenderloin roast. So this is going to go in the oven pretty quickly, so I'll show you how to make the gravy, and then I'll be sure to post the pictures of the finished product in my recipe community at theflipflopchef.com. So be sure that you join the recipe community there. You'll also find thousands of other recipes, and I give away a prize every single Friday. You just have to look for the Flip Flop Friday post. So I'm really excited about making this recipe, so I hope you guys are too, and I can't wait to hear when you make this as well. So be sure to use the comments. Let me know if you have any questions, and regardless of what channel you're watching on, you can use the shop button to shop with me if you see any products that you would like to add to your kitchen. As a consultant with the Pampered Chef, I do earn commission on the products that I sell. So let's go ahead and get started on our beef tenderloin. I'm gonna zoom in so that you guys can see this a little bit better. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna start off first with our tenderloin. So this is your beef tenderloin. It's already been trimmed, and I used a boning knife to remove the silver skin from this. We're gonna take 1 tablespoon of oil. I'm using olive oil, and I'm gonna brush all sides of the beef tenderloin. If you don't like handling raw meat, then you can, of course, wear gloves, but we're gonna get a little bit messy when we are preparing this today. So I'm gonna flip this over. We're gonna make sure we get oil on all sides. And then I've got a mixture of a teaspoon of salt and 2 tablespoons of Pampered Chef's garlic and herb rub. I love the garlic and herb rub. It's great on vegetables, chicken, beef, and you could even use it on fish. All right, got our oil on there. And then what we're gonna do next is we're gonna take this mixture of our herbs. So like I said, this is 2 tablespoons of the garlic and herb rub, and I'm mixing that in with a teaspoon of salt. So I'm just gonna sprinkle this around. We're gonna make sure we cover the whole thing. This is gonna add so much great flavor, and I would just kind of press it in so you don't lose any of it when you flip this over. And we're gonna get the other side, and then we'll get the narrow sides. And this is gonna go in a 500-degree oven for 10 minutes. If you start at that high temperature, it actually helps the meat caramelize a little bit. And then you're gonna reduce the temp after 10 minutes, and it'll ensure that you have a really moist roast. So we're gonna reduce the temp to just 475, and we're gonna cook it for 25 to 30 minutes, and that's for a medium rare cook. So I'm gonna use my fingers on this so that I can get the sides and just rub this on. I think that'll be more efficient than using that spoon. And I like this when I eat beef tenderloin out. I do prefer it to be medium rare. If you want it to be more done than that, then of course you can cook it longer. We're gonna use our, I'm gonna just see, you're gonna get messy with this one. Use your fingers and pick up any of that excess seasoning, and we're gonna get that in that little groove there. We don't wanna waste any of this. I'm gonna rinse my hands, and then we're gonna transfer this to a roasting pan. And I'm gonna get our chef's tongs out of the drawer to do that, so hang tight 1 second, and maybe I can keep my hands clean from here on. All right, so we're gonna use Pampered Chef's roasting pan, and this is a cast iron enameled pan. See if I can get that in there. And I'm just gonna take my chef's tongs, and I'm gonna move this roast over to the roasting rack. I think you could do this with or without the rack. I'm gonna use the rack for today. I'm gonna put this on a diagonal, and then this is gonna go in the oven at 500 for just 10 minutes. And I'm gonna put in our probe. So let's see, hang on. Let me move this around a little bit so that I can give you a better view. Okay, so this is our instant read food thermometer, and I'm gonna place the probe in the side of the tenderloin, and I'm gonna go kind of to the center. That's my hands real quick since I was handling that raw meat. And then what I'll do is I'll place this in the oven so that this is on the outside of the oven but the cord, you know, goes from the inside to the outside. So hang tight just a second. Let me put this in my oven and I'll be right back. Okay, so we've got that in the oven now, and the probe, I don't know if you guys can see, probably not, but I have, my oven is magnetic, and so that just sticks right onto the outside of the oven, and I can check the internal temperature at any time. And so I love being able to use that because you can have the probe in the meat in the oven, and the thermometer is on the outside of the oven. So it's a really cool feature. All right, so let's go ahead and make our gravy. And we're gonna chop up a shallot. Let me grab a new cutting mat. We're gonna use our food chopper for this. And if you're not familiar with the food chopper, this is the best food chopper for nuts or small portions of food. We also have a manual food processor, and we have an electric, which is a cordless electric food processor that's part of our Flex Plus. So we have a few options for you, but for today, I prefer using the food chopper. So if you're not familiar with this, you can chop in the cup or you can chop directly on your cutting board. This is the food chopper. You're gonna take the little clear collar off. This piece pops open and then all of this goes on the top rack of the dishwasher. To put it back together, you're just gonna plug this in, twist this on, and then you're ready to chop. So I'm gonna chop I think I'll chop on the cutting board today. So I just have a couple of small shallots here. The cool thing about the food chopper is every time you push this, the blades turn like a quarter of a turn, and so you'll be able to chop your food really, really easily. So let's go ahead and do this. Oh, I didn't set my timer. Hang on. We'll do that for 8 minutes. Hang on. So we're going to cook it at 500 for 10 minutes. Then we're going to lower the temp to 475 and cook it another 25 to 30 minutes. All right, so there's our food chopper and our shallot. We are going to make our gravy in Pampered Chef's medium-size non-stick stainless skillet. This is actually one of my favorite pieces of cookware to use, and I love it because it's stainless, but it also has a non-stick coating on the inside, and then you have a stainless grid. So you may or may not be able to see that, but there's a stainless grid on top of the non-stick coating. And I love this because you can use metal utensils. So I'm gonna be using my fish spatula, and you can see it's fine to use this on your cookware. These do have a lifetime guarantee, and this is my favorite line of cookware. So let's go ahead and get this heated up. We're gonna add a tablespoon of oil, and I'm gonna put this on medium for the moment. And I am using an induction cooktop, and so it will cook a little bit faster than an electric or a gas stove top. So just keep that in mind. You can cook a whole lot faster. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna heat this oil. And then what we're gonna do is we're going to add the mushrooms in. So we're gonna use, I didn't tell you guys this. We're gonna use 2 cups of mushrooms in this sauce with our shallot and our oil. And then we're gonna add in some flour to thicken it, and then butter at the very, very end. We'll see if we're still on camera when we add in the butter. So let me just make sure here I'm using my little cheat sheet here. All right, so we're gonna heat this oil. And I bought these mushrooms sliced already. My burner's telling me that there's no pan on there. That's another beauty of using induction. It won't work unless the pan is on the actual cooktop. So I'm gonna add these shallots. We're just gonna toss those into the skillet. You see how fast this pan heats up? It's amazing. All right. And then we're gonna go ahead and add our mushrooms. So this is 2 cups of sliced mushrooms, and I love that easy read measuring colander there. So I'm gonna just cook these for a few minutes over medium heat here, and I'm gonna add in a tablespoon of the garlic and herb rub. So this is the same rub that I used on the beef tenderloin. So we used 2 tablespoons on the tenderloin. We're gonna add 1 tablespoon to our mushroom and shallots. Sprinkle that in. This is gonna add so much flavor. And we're gonna cook this until they're soft. And we are gonna use red wine and beef broth for this gravy. And if you don't wanna use the red wine, you could just add extra beef broth. And like I said at the beginning, I will post the recipe, the finished product rather, in my recipe group. You can find that at theflipflopchef.com. So I hope that you will definitely join me there. And while I am talking about, while I'm cooking the mushrooms, I want to talk to you a little bit more about this cookware. So we have two other pieces that go with this cookware line. We have the 12-inch skillet, which is just a little bit larger than this. So this is the 10-inch skillet. So the 12-inch is going to be about 2 inches wider in diameter. And then we also have a stainless wok, and the wok is about the same diameter as the 12-inch skillet, but it's a lot deeper. And so you have a lot more space to work with when you're using the wok. And rather than a completely flat bottom, it has a narrow bottom, and then it slowly tapers up. And so the wok gives you more space, and it's truly like a stir-fry skillet that you're going to be able to use. All right, so we're going to cook these just a little bit longer. I'm going to turn this down to medium. Just sort of toss those around a little bit. And then when we're ready, what we're going to do is we're going to add in a half a cup of red wine. And this is our Easy Read measuring cup. And I use this for the oil, and I also have used it for our beef broth too. So I've got 2 cups of beef broth and a half a cup of red wine. If you're going to not use the red wine, then you're going to increase your beef broth to 2.5 cups. So it's a really easy substitution if you don't have wine on hand or you don't want to cook with wine. All right, these are starting to get soft, so I'm going to just let those sit for just a few more minutes. And just to remind you guys, feel free to use the comments. If you have questions for me at any time, please feel free to reach out to me. You can use the comment section, or you can comment, or you can click the message button on any of the platforms that you might be watching this video on. And again, if you're interested in purchasing anything that you see here today, I would love the opportunity to be your consultant. So if you're not already working with someone, I hope you'll reach out to me. All right, so let's go ahead and add in the wine. So our mushrooms are nice and soft. I'm going to add the wine, and this is going to deglaze the pan. So if you have anything that may have stuck to the bottom, I don't think we had any crunchy pieces on this particular time, but you're going to just, you could deglaze the pan with that wine. I'm going to let this sit for just a minute here, and we've only got about 2 minutes left on our beef tenderloin before I need to reduce the temperature to 475. So just to remind you, we started at a high temperature to help the meat caramelize, and then we're going to reduce the temperature so that we make sure we get a really, really moist roast. So I've got the wine here, and we're going to cook this for about 1 minute. Oh, it smells so good. I always hate that you guys can't smell what I'm cooking, because that is so much of the enjoyment of cooking, right? All right, so we're gonna add the broth to this in just a minute or so, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna whisk in the flour, and we're gonna let this thicken up. Then we're gonna add the butter just until it is melted, and then our gravy is going to be ready to go. So just a little bit longer on this. And I'm going to go ahead and pour in 2 cups of beef broth. And if you're not a fan of mushrooms, if you're not allergic to them, I would recommend that you still use them for the recipe so that you get some of that flavor. And then you could just strain them out if you want. Just take them out if you don't like the mushrooms. But I think they really are going to add so much great flavor. All right, so what I'm gonna do, my timer's about to go off, so I'm gonna walk over to the stove. I'm gonna reduce that temperature to 475, and then I'm gonna set a new timer. So let me go ahead and do that, because I'm really good at forgetting that. So we're gonna do 25 minutes, and that will help me kind of keep tabs on how much more we need to go. So let me reduce this temperature. reduced the temperature to 475, and I've set my timer for 25 minutes. And just so you know, the temperature has not gone up very much at all, just a couple of degrees, because the internal temperature is what that temperature is measuring, or that thermometer is measuring. I'm gonna add 2 tablespoons of flour, and we're gonna use, I have 2 whisks here. I'm gonna use the sauce whisk first, and I'm just gonna gently whisk this in. And I do have the mini whipper. Sometimes I prefer using that one. We're gonna whisk this to get all those lumps of flour. And then this is gonna thicken up. It's gonna take about 5 to 7 minutes for this to thicken up. Another option is you could actually scoop out some of the broth and whisk your flour in that before you pour it in here. You've got a couple of options for that. This smells so good, and it looks so good too. So we're just gonna whisk that together, and then after this is thickened up, I'll add the butter, and it will be ready to go. A couple little more spots of flour I wanted to whisk in there. I love this sauce whisk because it's coated in silicone, and so it's not going to scratch a pan if you were using a nonstick piece of cookware that you couldn't use metal in, which this pan is fine with metal, but I definitely love that this is not going to damage the cookware. So this is our garlic and herb beef tenderloin. I will post the pictures of the finished product in my recipe group at theflipflopchef.com. The only thing that you're not going to see live on camera today is I'm not going to finish the sauce, just because I don't want to keep you guys that long, just to watch me stir some sauce, right? And then our beef tenderloin is going to cook for about 22 more minutes, and then I'll take it out of the oven. I'll put it on my wood cutting board here, which I really love, this beautiful wood cutting board from Pampered Chef. I'll put the beef tenderloin on here, and I'm going to tint it with foil and just let the meat rest for about 15 minutes. It's really important not to skip that step, because the juices inside the beef, they'll redistribute, and you're going to have just a perfect cut of meat. And so I'm really excited to try this recipe, and I hope that you will try it too. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me anytime, and I look forward to seeing you the next time. So have a great evening.